Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. The Shrimp Tank Charleston is a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, and Spotify. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website. Go to www.doublellc.com. That's www.doublellc.com. And you can see all the shows there or wherever you want. I'm very excited to have someone that came all the way in from Hilton Head, South Carolina, Miss Jennifer Pfuhl. Ladies and gentlemen, we're welcome to have you. Made the long trip from Hilton Head, which is it's really not that far, Jennifer, but it just takes longer than it needs to because you kind of have to drive around. It's like, what is it, 2.5 hours maybe?
It was 2 hours and 15 minutes, but had I left in more traffic, sometimes the GPS was telling me like 2.5.
Well, we're happy to have you make the trip. And I mean, obviously, who wouldn't come in to be on the Shrimp Tank Charleston because it's one of the biggest shows in the world right now. Bigger than The Voice and American Idol and all these other things that people are seeing. I'm sure you already knew that.
I'm deeply honored.
Well, you should be. You should be. We're really excited to have you. Seriously. Let me tell the audience a little bit about Jennifer. So you grew up in Boston or the Massachusetts area. Am I correct here? We did a lot of research, so I just want to make, hopefully our research was correct. If it's not, we'll complain to Chase. And you went to UT.
University of Texas at Austin, yes.
Yes, we have to say that, I guess, because people might think that means Tennessee, but we're talking Texas. It's a way better academically, in my opinion. Sorry for the the Tennessee people out there. And you're a big performer. You were a dancer, like a yoga instructor. You have all this stuff. And then you go on to start working at MAPTech, which your dad kind of started the company or took over the company. And then now you've been running that company. Your father has passed away, and you've run this company that deals in the manufacturing world of making these machines for packaging for all sorts of things, which we'll jump into. You're married. You have 2 sons. You love Hilton Head, and you're a huge horseback rider, skier, fisher. Obviously, you're very fitness-oriented. Being able to do all that stuff and run a company is pretty impressive. And the company is pretty impressive, and I want to get to that, and we'll talk about this company. But before we even go there, I want to start a little bit about kind of the early childhood. I don't want to hear the whole story. I don't want to go year to year. But I want to know kind of what has driven you to become this president, owner of a company now. And because you got to have something. You have to have more to yourself to be able to run a company. So tell me a little bit about that. What was the early childhood life like?
Very early childhood, my parents raised Appaloosas in Kansas City, Missouri. And
what's an Appaloosa?
It's like a spotted horse.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're feisty. They're small, feisty, spotted horses. And it was really my mom and my sister doing most of the work for that because my father was often traveling for work. And so they ran the farm until my mom had tired of being run over by the feisty spotted horses. And my father got transferred to a company in Boston. So when I was 8, we moved to Boston. That was a fantastic place to grow up. I mean, you had access to public transportation, museums, amazing schools. And I went to a variety of different schools. We moved around quite a bit. So my parents were early DIYers, constantly fixing up and flipping houses.
Really?
And that kind of brought us from...
What part of Boston were you living in, primarily?
We originally moved to Hingham.
Yeah.
And then Cohasset. And then Boston, the South End, like Rutland Square. And then to Milton. And I eventually went to Milton Academy there and graduated from that school.
Is Milton Academy a boarding school?
They have boarding. I was a day student. But yeah, it's kind of in the league with Andover, Exeter, those types of schools.
So you're in that whole. That's like where the greatest boarding schools. That whole Maine, Connecticut, the whole New England area is like known for that.
It was amazing because people came from all over. You know, you had a lot of New Yorkers, but lots of international students. So you really did have diversity and exposure to all kinds of people and cultures, which was exciting. An amazing performing arts center there. Stephen King donated like a $13 million endowment for this performing arts center that had stages that elevated and sung
at Milton Academy
at my high school.
Well,
yeah,
did he go there or something?
I think
or
his daughter did or something. Yeah.
any famous people you graduate with?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can think of that. But James Taylor went to our school, so he'd come and perform concerts for us.
Really?
I think he got kicked out though.
Why was he smoking weed?
I think so. Yeah.
Sorry. So we did some research and we found that Jen was with James that day that they got kicked out. But Fire and Rain, I guess he was singing at the time. And so your parents happily married, no divorce?
They did eventually divorce. I have a half sister, so my mom was married early on in her life, had my sister, divorced, married my dad. I would say their relationship was somewhat tumultuous and exciting, but they were always friends. So eventually, I think they decided they could afford to divorce, and when I was maybe in my 30s, they did divorce, and still we got together for family gatherings, and there were no hard feelings as a result of the divorce.
Did anything, because of their relationship and stuff, and growing up in that household, did that create any certain habits or certain things that you were looking forward to moving into your future? I meet people who come from divorced families or where the family, had I don't want to say a rough relationship, but something where they were like, that's kind of one of the things that drove me or something.
I think their perhaps tumultuous relationship or my mom's feeling of kind of playing second fiddle or always being in a support role to his career, and those support functions maybe not being fully appreciated or recognized, gave her a bit of a bitter feeling. So perhaps that drove me to really strive for a fierce independence. What else? My mom and dad are both very entrepreneurial spirited. They did always have a house flipping project going on. They do all the work themselves. They're very strong work ethic. So every weekend we were improving the house, having burn piles to
and
clear
you guys
brush,
are doing that too. You and your sister are involved in that as well.
We got involved, yes.
Did you want to do that?
No.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely forced labor.
Yeah, I was like, mine was go pull 19 million weeds out of the yard where there's water moccasins. I don't know which one's better. I couldn't even, they would never, my parents would never even be capable of doing any kind of handiwork at a house. We're incapable of that.
But I think what they really taught me, my parents, is that anything you want to do, just dive in. So they did the horse farm without any kind of experience in that, and it all just kind of organically grew. They got a pony for my sister, then she needed somebody to ride with, and if they were going to have two, and there were three people in the family, they might as well have three. Well, once you have three horses, boarding them becomes untenably expensive. So then they got a place themselves, and the only way they could afford the place was to bring on other horses to board. And before you knew it, they were breeding horses and racing horses and doing all kinds of horsey activities.
Anything trying to go to like the Kentucky Derby type stuff?
Not quite that high level, but we had a racehorse named Busy Bar Jim, and there's photographs of him. My mom in her like 70s pantsuit, and Busy Bar Jim was the big deal.
Did you sell Busy Bar Jim?
I'm not sure what became of him.
Where is he now? Where's Busy Bart?
You can look up, like if you search him on the internet, you can see like his lineage and descendants of his and things.
Oh, really? So he comes from good blood
He
and all
had a
this.
name, yeah.
All right. So then you go through high school. You're at Milton Academy, and then you go on to the University of Texas in Austin. Your friends, I'm assuming a lot of your friends, they're probably being told they have to go to Harvard, they have to go to Yale, because you probably had a lot of that stuff, I would think.
A lot of my classmates did matriculate to those Ivy League schools.
Did you have interest in doing that?
I don't. I mean, I had good grades. I didn't have any standout athletic or extracurricular skills, particularly. I mean, I did theater and performance, but I wasn't like a star in those areas. And I really had this interest or intrigue around Texas. So we had one student who, everybody was vying to get into Milton Academy. It was like very competitive. I remember I got a part in a film for the Boston Computer Museum, and the filming took place during the week of orientation for my freshman year at Milton. And I asked my advisor, can I skip the orientation to do this film? I'm going to get paid for it and have this professional experience. They were like, no, you cannot miss orientation. And I did it anyways and got like many Saturday detentions as a result of it. Well, about 2 months into the school year, this girl shows up, Jenny Cohn, and she got sent to Milton because she was bad. So, and she started like 2 months into the school year. So I'm like, who is this girl? And
Yeah, why do you get it?
yeah. And
I mean, I just did a movie.
everyone else was, very, very preppy, very like outdoorsy clothes and everything. She come in like full makeup, hair curled and everything.
Where is she now?
She is back in Texas. So, yeah, the allure of Jenny Cohn introduced me to, the joys of
Being a cowboy.
two-stepping and everything else. My parents always kind of had an infatuation with cowboy culture. So I went out to Texas to check it out.
Did you have a great time?
I loved it.
Were you out there with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I think he was there at the same time.
Was he?
Uh-huh.
Do you have any stories with you and Matthew? Do you want to talk about?
I did not meet him in person, but
okay.
I was able to
This show's
attend
over.
them.
Thank you guys for listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. We thought we had research that you knew Matthew. That's why you're here. No, I'm joking. Okay, so your parents, you kind of hit some points that I wanted to kind of dive into. So you go to UT. Your parents obviously have this drive that's kind of built, kind of goes back into your life. And you go to UT, you don't know anybody.
No,
pretty
I
much.
did not. Yeah, it was a brand new place.
And do you find it a little hard at first, or is it pretty easy? Because you seem pretty cool and hip. I mean, for the audience, I don't know if Jen's hair is just colored or if there's something attached to her hair, but she has some purple streaks or something. I mean, you can just tell Jen is an attractive CEO, but that's cool, not uptight, not what I would think of Milton Academy. I'm thinking Milton Academy. We're going to talk about the futures and commodities and stuff right now. Maybe.
Oh yeah, it was very edgy for Milton.
Yeah, they had to be like, "What the hell is going on here?" No, so okay, so I'm sorry, I'm falling off track here.
Was Texas hard? Well, Texas is a really big school. So, yeah, you definitely have to find your way or you can get lost. You have to be very concentrated on taking the right classes to even get your graduation program going. But I found the professors there fascinating. You know, I went and I majored in radio, television, film because I had this interest in film,
So
acting,
this
things
dream,
like that.
right, we're doing right now is like a dream come true.
That's
here.
right. That's
Okay.
right. We're
All right.
living
Cool,
it.
Cool.
But you know, my father would never support me like going to school to get an art degree or a film degree. But radio, television, film is actually a science degree. You know, you get a BS in communications. So that was my workaround for doing an artsy thing with kind of still a technical bent to it. And then the classes there, like I took one that was kind of about the cultural side of media. So I ended up skirting all technical knowledge. I know nothing about microphones or screenshots or anything like that. But I explored the cultural side of film, you know, how it has political, social ramifications and comes from certain cultural environments. And then that really fascinated me. So I went on and I also double majored in anthropology, studied all kinds of cool things like medical anthropology, body lore, how different cultures express themselves through different body practices. Like tattooing,
So when you're
or
in
other things like that.
when you're in college, and this is where I think I screwed up. When you're in college, you're really going and doing you're taking the majors and minors that you really find interesting. Like that, you're not thinking about where's the money.
Unfortunately, no, I did not.
No, I don't
about
think
that,
it's unfortunate because I'll be a business major. And because that's what I'm supposed to do, I guess. And I found that a lot of my classes, like statistics, that's not interesting. I mean, some of the things that I wasn't interested in them. And I would tell my kids when they go off to school, focus on what you find interesting. Don't worry about if there's money or not money. That has nothing to do with anything. Just go learn something that you're actually going to be passionate about learning
I think
versus memorizing.
finding and cultivating your passion is the secret to happiness and success. I mean, if you're going to be successful at something and earn money in it, you have to have that passion.
Agreed. And I wish I had done that when if I went back to school now, which you did. But what's weird is you're not doing anything, I don't think. Maybe you are. Tell me how what you learned relates to your business of MAPTech.
Well, here I am at Shrimp Tank using the microphones, so there's that.
Yeah, and who knows where your career will go. I mean, MAPTech, I'm sorry, you guys probably are going to need to find a new CEO because her career in journalism should probably be hired soon by Fox or CNN, whichever way she wants to go.
But going to school is about learning how to learn and learning how to set a goal and accomplish it, learning how to break a big goal up into bite-sized chunks. And I think that's applicable to all businesses.
Were you a partier in college, or were you more just average but there to academically?
I mean, Austin has such fabulous entertainment. So yes, there was wonderful concerts I attended. Yeah, I guess I was.
I mean, you're
I wasn't like a sorority girl, frat girl, like going to big drinking parties or anything. But yeah, I explored the nightlife of Austin.
Got you. And it's a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. Beautiful place. I just gave my son's college planner. I put UT on the list to take a look at. Now, I don't know if he can get in.
It's really neat because Austin is a very green city. So there's all these public park spaces and a spring that wells up in the middle of the town that you can go swimming at with this giant pool around it. and that feeds into the lake systems, all of which are part of the Colorado River. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and it continues to grow and become a huge tech due to a lot with Michael Dell and what happened with that company. It's totally transformed. All right, so we go through college, we get out, and do you go straight into something that relates to this focus on your academics?
No. So, simultaneously to attending the University of Texas, I also took a dance class at Austin Community College. And that really unleashed my passion. I hadn't been a dancer in my youth, but just found so much reward and self awareness through this practice of dance, like modern dance, improvisation, choreography. I collaborated with some students I met there, and we formed a dance company. So really had fun doing that. And I went to a program at Duke called the American Dance Festival. It was like a 6-week summer program. Thinking like I'm all hot stuff. I'm about to graduate with an associate's degree in dance, and I'm going to try out for all of these big choreographers' workshops that will then be showcased at the theaters there at Duke. And I like was terrible. I couldn't keep up. Like they'd teach you the 8 counts of the combination. I'd be like, I have no idea. But what I did take there was an amazing yoga class. And yoga is kind of all about like just accepting yourself where you are, breathing through it, staying calm. And with those tenets, I was able to achieve amazing physical feats. So all of a sudden, you're standing on your head and twisting yourself up into a pretzel, and you're like, wow, I can do this. So I really liked that. And I went back to Texas after that program and enrolled in like a teacher certification course for yoga. And so as soon as I got that certification, I started teaching at Yoga, the school where I'd gotten the certification. And I simultaneously taught kids dance and gymnastics at a traveling dance company. So I would like carry a gymnastics mat balanced on my head and go around to different daycare centers and recreation centers.
You know
things
what
like that.
you said, which is I think very impressive, is you went to this dance academy at Duke, and you just take the shot, and you see that there's these folks that are way better than you, but you have this, and I call it the mindset that I'm okay that y'all are all better than me. That's fine. I took this shot, and then I found something. I got something else out of this. I got yoga. Where a lot of people, and this probably correlates why you are and your company has grown and become successful. And it's hard to have this. I guess you can change some habits and try to become this, but it's hard not. It's hard to just do this without having it embedded in you. Is the fact of you don't appear to fear failure. Like you're like, failure will lead. I get the sense failure leads you to something's going to be good from this, versus a lot of people who don't move on or up the ladder or move up financially or personally, professionally, whatever it is, because they just want to stay status quo.
Yeah, if you didn't experience failure, there would be no reason to change or to move on or to grow. I mean, failure is kind of the base of each new stepping stone.
It's just in you, it seems like.
Yeah.
And probably because of what you described about your parents.
Yeah, I think my father was a great example. I mean, he had many business successes and just as many like complete crashes. And you just get yourself back up and try again. Go.
Your
in a new
sister
direction.
is older.
She is.
Okay, so it's just the two of you. Mm-hmm. Is she less of a risk taker than you?
I would say she's more of a risk taker. She is she's been a chef, and she's very, rebellious, edgy. She does not care about the status quo at all.
Interesting, because I find that a lot of times the older child has a tendency to want to be perfect, and so is less But your situation's a little bit different.
I think
'cause
with
you're-
the step parent thing,
Yeah.
I think the stepchild thinks like, well, I'm never going to be good enough anyways, so I might as well just
Yeah,
go all out.
you kind of screw up the birth order situation I'm trying to describe because you had it's a half sibling.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have found is the older, the first, wants to be perfect, would not go into, if they said, hey, you can walk into this room and no one's going to be as good as you, and you're going to make your A's, or you can go in this room and you might go to a whole nother level, but you also could fail. They have a tendency to go, I'm just going to go here because that's the first sure. I'm not going to go here. Whereas a second child goes, I don't care. I'll try that. If there's more opportunity, maybe who cares? I fail, big deal.
I think the multiple moves through childhood helped develop that quality of like, okay, I'm starting over and it's okay because every time I've moved, it's always been to a better place, or I've always made better friends, or there have been more interesting teachers or programs at this new school. So it's always been positive.
So you do the yoga for X amount of years, and then
And I loved it. Extremely rewarding. I mean, you have people telling you, "Yeah, you've changed my life. Through my practice of yoga, I've healed this." It's a very gratifying undertaking, but not very financially lucrative. So I thought, like, okay, now I really should get a real job. And I had been teaching the kids dance and gymnastics, and I really loved that. And I loved academia. So I thought, like, well, why don't I just be a teacher? And then I went and got an alternative certification for teachers. So it's like a 9-month program or something. And I got a job at a charter school about an hour south of Austin. And I was terrible at it. I think I had laryngitis the entire year because
Just
of
yelling
screaming at the kids. Yeah. I had no classroom management skills.
and you have no kids at the time.
I had no children at the time. So, yeah, it was just, it was a tough situation. It was a brand new school. They were trying to integrate special education and mainstream classrooms. And they were supposed to have a lot of extra support staff and small classrooms to enable that to happen successfully. But like within a month, they fired the other third grade teacher and gave me all her students. And a couple weeks after that, they fired the special ed teacher.
Well, you must have been doing okay, better than you think, because
I didn't get fired.
Yeah, you didn't get fired.
That's true.
So, and again, another example of where you took a shot.
Mm-hmm. So then I think I was complaining so much to my parents about that experience. My father finally said, like, well, what is your dream? What do you really want to do? And I said, I want to open a yoga studio. And so he loaned me money to open a yoga studio, with the caveat being that it be near my mom and dad, who at that point had moved to Hilton Head.
Gotcha. All right. So on that note, guys, you're enjoying another great episode of Jennifer Pfuhl of MAPTech Packaging. There's also Champions Manufacturing or Packaging. I don't want to say this wrong.
Champion Systems.
Champion Systems. I was very close. The Shrimp Tank Charleston, sponsored by Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E enables you to enjoy more and worry less. We'll be right back to get into Chapter 3 with Jennifer Pfuhl of MAPTech Packaging, Champion Systems.
Attention. Do you own a whole life or universal life insurance policy? Were you told to expect a big tax-free nest egg at retirement, or that dividends will pay for the policy instead of you? Agents frequently sell products like this that are profitable for them, but not for you. Let Double E audit your policy at no cost. Call now to find out how Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions can help you. 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial, Double E LLC, and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Hey guys, we're back. We're sitting here speaking with Jennifer Pfuhl of MAPTech Packaging, as well as she owns Champion Systems. and we're getting the whole works. She did not have an affair with Matthew McConaughey at the University of Texas, which would have been a lot more. I mean, it would have been a great story if you could have just lied and told us about it.
Next time, I'll be prepared.
But that's okay. Now, so I want to fast forward because I want to get into MAPTech. I want to talk about Champion Systems. I want to talk about this hemp creation that you got involved in. So your dad kind of says, "Come back. You got to be in Hilton Head. Start a yoga studio." You do that. How old are you at this time? What's transpired?
Let's see. That was 2003. So I was born in 76. So I'm 27 or something.
Okay, so you're 27. You've done a lot between graduating in 27 and failed, in your mind, failed a lot. But to me, these were successes because you started just keep on learning what was important and what you liked doing. So you start the yoga studio. You're still single.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want to dive, I want to get more into the MAPTech and Champion Systems, but that opens, you're having a great time doing it.
Loved it. And then my sister graduated from culinary school about 3 years later. So my father did the same luring technique for her and said, move to Hilton Head. She'd been in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but move here. I'll invest in a restaurant for you. And Jennifer's yoga studio is okay, but it's not gonna, make her $1 million. So she can run the front of the house and you run the kitchen.
Oh, really? So what? No, because your dad says this, how are you feeling?
I'm okay with it. I mean, I felt like I had satisfied my desire to create that wellness. This is something I may cycle back around to because I found it satisfying, gratifying. I mean, there are still folks that I run into on Hilton Head who say, I had my daughter's birthday party at your yoga studio, and that was the most amazing experience of my life. Or I see kids that took my dance classes that are now young adults, and they still connect and remember me. So that's really fun. But I was okay with the restaurant. I like restaurants. I've always worked in F&B, as a way to support myself. And it was challenging. We purchased an existing restaurant thinking it couldn't fail. And it was a big steakhouse, big wine kind of place. And
What was it? What was
it? Was called Stripes. And we got in there like November of 2007. So just on the precipice
Perfect
of this
timing.
Huge financial crash. And, on Hilton Head, you have mostly construction, real estate, finance, and those were all the areas, of course, that were hit very hard by the recession. So needless to say, the restaurant was a big struggle. We did reconceptualize it and turn it into like a grab-and-go gourmet deli, just offering things at a lower price point, and had marginally more success with that.
Do you and your sister, because you're working together for the first time, you've always been, prior to that, you were close with your sister?
We've always gotten along. We've been close, although we lived apart from each other for that, period of my 20s. So,
but was that hard to work together?
It is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's basic. For those of you who can't see her face, that's a yes, it is hard. A political answer of that is hard. Listen, I worked with my father. We were best friends before we worked together. And it was not easy. I don't know. I would really change a lot if my kids ever came to work with me. But it's not. This story is about you, Jennifer, not me. Okay, so you and your sister are working this grab and go.
What happened was the very first night we opened Stripes under our ownership, a friend of a friend of a friend invited my husband out to check out the new place. And I met him there, and we fell instantly in love and have been together ever since.
Really? Okay, so was he from Hilton? Is your husband originally from Hilton Head?
My husband is from Germany.
Okay.
And he moved over to Charlotte with his parents when he was in middle school. and they vacationed on Hilton Head and eventually had a home on Hilton Head.
Gotcha. Okay, so and then he just stayed there. Mm-hmm. All right, so a great thing that happened with this restaurant, and then so the restaurant goes away.
We decided it was just too much of a cash drain. It was not sustainable. I did another interesting stint. We brought in partners at the restaurant. So my husband and I got married. We had our wedding catered. We liked the caterer so much, and they had one of these grab-and-go gourmet delis in one area of the island. So we proposed to them that we took the space at Stripes, which was on the other end of the island, and do a second location for their business concept. So that was interesting and fun. And my partner's dad got involved with doing something called the Mind Center. And he was using neurointegration, biofeedback, the system of reading your brain waves and identifying places where they may be out of balance or something, and then training your brain waves into a certain frequency to help alleviate whatever imbalances you may be experiencing. So, for instance, like if you have ADD, it's because you have slower waves in your prefrontal cortex. So if you can train those waves to kind of move at a higher frequency, you can alleviate the symptoms of ADD. And similarly, like for anxiety, all kinds of things. Amazing technology. So I got trained in how to be a neurointegration specialist and coach. And I could also use my yoga and things like that to help these people that were trying to improve their brains.
So these exercises that you're describing, these are exercises that you do, or is there a machine that...
It's a machine. So you start off and you get like a map of your brain using EEGs. And then you read the map and you compare it to all sorts of data that so folks get these maps, and then they also answer a questionnaire about their life experience. And this company begins to correlate these subjective responses with what is seen in the brain map, and they can establish patterns. And then if you're doing the training, what you do is you're looking at a computer screen. You have nodes reading your brain waves in the particular areas you decide to train, and you can see those brain waves on the screen in front of you.
I think I'm familiar with this. What's the name of this?
There's different brands that produce this, but it's called neurointegration, biofeedback.
I wonder, there's a gentleman here in Charleston. He calls it SpectraVision.
Okay.
But I think it's the same thing that you're describing.
And when you're watching these waves on the screen, you're also listening to something. It could just be a podcast or a piece of music, or it could be a film, and you're hearing the soundtrack. Well, the computer technology will glitch the sound if your brain is going to its habitual patterns. And your brain doesn't like that glitch. It wants to hear uninterrupted sound. So it will start adjusting itself, and you're rewarded by having that continuous sound.
So this thing is trying to recalibrate some of these flaws. Let's call them flaws. They're not really flaws. They're just your makeup. But they're recalibrating so that instead of going this way for the frequency, it's going to go this way, which would eliminate your anxiety about worrying about your kids or flying, or I have a tendency to have less confidence in something, and this helps your brain go almost like forget that stuff. Correct?
Yeah.
I can I be a neurotechnology
yeah, it was
specialist?
awesome, exciting. I was thrilled to be learning about this system. But its application in the business I participated in was to help people recognize early signs of cognitive decline and do brain training to stave off further decline.
Gotcha.
And it was kind of challenging as a business model because really nobody wants to know they're at the early stages of dementia. And you'd have a lot of, kids bringing their elderly parents in to get tested.
That goes really well.
Yeah. So then they adopted it to apply to weight loss, because everybody will pay to lose weight. And so, they said, well, if you're overweight, it's because maybe you're anxious and you're anxiously eating, or maybe you're
There's a hidden thing underneath all this
depressed, and that's why you're eating.
We'll recalibrate the frequency so that you won't feel like you're in dire need of hunger and all this kind of stuff. And so you're still a believer of this whole thing too.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
I think it's pretty neat.
and I've seen this thing work, so I know what you're describing. I think I know what you're describing. So okay, so you get involved with that.
So again,
I mean, when are we ever getting to MAPTech? Did this MAPTech happen like a year ago or something?
Eventually, like in 2011, after the Mind Center was again not a huge success, my father said, "You know what? Why don't you just come work for me at MAPTech?" By that time, I had a child, so I kind of had to get serious and go to a 9-to-5 job. And so I did that at MAPTech. I was in the customer service department. And working for my father, we actually came together more working together. And it was neat for me to see, he was not only running MAPTech, but very much involved in real estate development projects and things like that. So I got to help him.
And so
with
when you get involved with MAPTech in 2011, and he wants you to go through these different parts of the business to learn different facets of the business. And then he passes away in 2013 unexpectedly, or?
He had heart conditions for a very long time. He had a heart attack in his 40s and had quadruple bypass surgeries and stents. So it wasn't completely unexpected. But yeah.
And so are you just catapulted to take over the business then?
There was an executor who had been the CFO of the business. So he took charge of operations of MAPTech. I got an MBA because I felt even with all my previous education, I was ill-equipped to lead a manufacturing company. So I did an online MBA program, and in the meantime took over the Champion Systems side of our business, which is the side that supplies trays and lidding films that are used in our machine applications.
Yeah, so give the audience a background real quick of what MAPTech does versus what Champion Systems does.
Sure. So MAPTech, MAP stands for Modified Atmosphere Packaging. And what that means is we are drawing out the ambient air inside of a container that we are controlling because we have a film over the top of the tray, and we can lift the film up or tighten it down while we're exchanging the atmosphere inside of the container. So we draw out the ambient air and we add nitrogen or oxygen, inert gases that you find in the atmosphere we breathe, but you increase the concentrations of those to extend the shelf life of the ingredients inside the container. And our application currently is mostly in the world of ready-to-eat salads. So cut vegetables, cut lettuces, and all the other toppings you might have on one of these salads, a little protein, a little cheese, a little crunchy thing. We help those salads go from having a 3-day shelf life to a 2-week shelf life.
And so, but you're making the machines.
That's right.
But then you sell the machines to a food manufacturer.
Yes.
That takes the food, and then they bought your equipment, and then they package it up.
That's right.
And there's no mention of MAPTech on the Whole Foods container or whatever.
No, we are definitely a business to business company.
And so so someone came up with this technology, I'm assuming you have patents and everything.
Some of our engineers, Bob McPherson, Mike Hartzell, and there was another guy, Mike Gorlick. They were the early pioneers of this technology in the early 80s. And they started out at a company called Ross. Ross was acquired by Riser, which is a company that my father had run in Massachusetts for a very long time. My father had broken away from Riser and started Champion Systems, which was like a consulting firm. He distributed equipment and distributed packaging materials. And then the guys had broken away from Ross and started a company called World Class. And they took this modified atmosphere concept and designed a new approach, which was a rotary machine, one that had kind of these stations arranged in a circle. And they were very successful early on, distributing those machines all over the world through distributing companies. They were quickly acquired, like within 5 years, by AMF Marlin Research, who makes a lot of baking equipment and processing equipment. But Marlin really couldn't find a niche for it. So seeing that those guys, the engineers that had broken away from Ross, were struggling under the leadership of Marlin, my dad went in, acquired that company back, the equipment manufacturer. He renamed it MAPTech, and he brought in what he had built with Champion Systems, so that instead of just providing equipment, now we provide like a total packaging solution. And we can design the trays so that they work seamlessly with the equipment with specific features like for auto loading or unloading or flexibility that allows the package to bend as you're pulling out air or adding air, things like that.
So for you, your dad passes away. You get more and more involved. You go get your MBA. You're still working. You're doing okay. And at that time, and you have one child at the time?
My second son was born in 2012.
Okay, so now you have 2 kids, a husband. You got this company that you're going to have to figure out how to start taking over, and you have this responsibility. What's the stress meter like then?
Stress meter was pretty high. My father's death was sudden. Shortly after his death, maybe like 6 months, my mom became aware that she had like stage 4 peritoneal cancer. So she died just a year later. My husband was a real lifesaver. He was willing to give up his career and just become a stay-at-home parent. So that helped because a lot of times, my job doesn't always require me to be in the office 9 to 5, but I might suddenly have to travel to go see a customer or travel to attend a trade show. And with 2 working parents, that just was too much to juggle. So he was willing, and it's pretty Renaissance man of him to. And
still to this day, the same.
He does.
And how old are the boys now?
Now they're 11 and 14. So one just started middle, one just started high school.
And so when you reflect back, is there anything that comes to your mind? And I want you to think about the answer. During that time, you getting your MBA, is there anything in particular that you go, this was probably the most instrumental thing that I either learned or did that helped kind of pave the way to get through this kind of storm? I want you to think about that and answer that when we come right back. You're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston, sponsored by Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. We enable our clients to enjoy more and worry less. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
If you're like most successful business executives, you would probably rather stick your arm in a bucket of snakes than formulate a strategy for your insurance and financial needs. Who even understands estate planning, 401k plans, or key men insurance? We do. We are Double E, your virtual Chief Insurance and Financial Officer. Let us free you up to do more of what you do best and less of what we do better. Call 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial, Double E LLC, and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. We've been sitting here having a enjoyable, relaxing conversation with Jennifer Pfuhl, president, owner of Champion Systems and MAPTech Packaging. today in the Double E Studios. Just so you guys know, if you prefer to watch our interviews, please go and to our YouTube channel and type under the search menu at YouTube the Shrimp Tank Charleston, and you can watch not only this interview with Jennifer but other previous shows that we've had, and you can enjoy all of my sometimes ridiculous humor that I come up with. But we were sitting there, and I just left you with a question to come back and answer, with the idea of, at that time where it was really tough times with father passing away, your mom passes away, you're having to take over a business, you have 2 kids, a husband. Does anything come to mind that kind of changed that path to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
I think up until that point, I had ventures and taken on jobs or career paths, and if I didn't like them or it didn't work out, I could just leave that behind and move on. But with MAPTech having fallen in my lap, I mean, I had to get scrappier. You had to kind of like make it work. You now had the responsibility of 10 employees and their families to look out for, and it became.
Did you have any kind of feeling like I got to prove my dad that he made the right decision? Did you have any of that behind you, or that? No?
I think it was interesting. Like, in my younger adult life, my dad never tried to entice me into participating in the business. My dad almost seemed like if he had it to do over, he wouldn't choose that business, because I mean, it's not the most like sexy business, like selling plastic, but
I don't know, is insurance and financial stuff more sexy?
yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. I'm sexy.
So, but you have to find what does keep you engaged and passionate, and for me, that's my team. I mean, I have brilliant guys. They solve problems. They support one another. And it's not just men. We have women at our company too. But it really is this, it's kind of cheesy, but family atmosphere. If someone gets sick or gets hurt, it's their coworker that's going to their house to put up handicap grab bars for them, or, they just dive in and help each other. And that's what they do at the company too. There's no micromanagement needed. Everybody, once they understand the direction we're going in, understands what their role in getting us there is, and they just do it.
And so now you fast forward. Where was MAPTech roughly in size, profit, revenue versus where it is now, today?
We were at a period when my father passed away of like tremendous growth. We had the single customer with which we had an exclusive arrangement. We only sold our equipment to them.
Okay, so you had 100% of your business going to one place.
Mm-hmm. And then
all eggs in one basket.
All eggs in one basket.
But a very nice, friendly basket.
Exactly. Yeah. But then, like in 2017, right at the period of time when I took full control of the company, our single customer was acquired by a much larger international corporation.
Bastards.
And they didn't have the history and really see the value add that we brought to these materials we brokered. And the champion side of things was really kind of the bread and butter of our business, where we got all of our residual revenues. So they said, our corporate policy is we buy direct from manufacturers. We don't need distributors, so buy.
Oh.
So that was a little shocking. And that's when we pivoted and tried our hand in the hemp extraction arena. So one of our engineers, one of the founding engineers, had a son that's a PhD organic chemist who had been studying cannabis and extraction. And he and his dad had made a small prototype of a system for this. And they came to us and said, I know we're kind of looking for the next pathway for MAPTech. What would you consider, partnering with us and developing, scaling up, and marketing these machines? So we did that. We built like a fully automated hydrocarbon extraction system to pull oils out of plants. And there was like a huge fervor at that time. 2018, they just passed the Farm Bill, which allowed folks to grow hemp all over the United States within certain parameters. And everybody was buzzing about CBD and the healing powers of the oils you could extract from this stuff. So it was pretty cool. Like I have these engineers that have
And
been
this is
building.
kind of getting more into your holistic type of lifestyle too.
It was. So that I felt like I could rekindle some interest and passion there. And it was really neat to see how my team just dove in, a conservative group of engineers, kind of mid or later life. And they were like, yeah, we'll build machines to extract hemp, sure. And so they took on this totally brand new design challenge and really hit it out of the park. We also built an extraction facility in like north of Beaufort at Gardens Corner. And that was fun, huge project. And we really built a state-of-the-art place. Unfortunately, like the market for the CBD crashed because everybody got into it at once. So when we were doing our ROIs for the equipment we were selling and our pro formas for the hemp extraction facility, that oil was selling at like $6,000 a liter. And by the time all of that stuff was completed and installed and working, it was selling for $600 a liter.
Wow.
So that was a challenge. I was graced by a tenant at that building. So I found another processor who sort of had wider breadth already in their sales development. And they leased the facility from me for the last 2 years. So that was positive. And then we kind of got circled back to MAPTech because much of the management team who had been at our first customer trickled away once the big corporation came in, and they reassembled at another large produce manufacturing company, and they wanted the same arrangement they'd had with us before, where they wanted to collaborate and have us build a custom machine just meeting their needs and their feedback, and they wanted exclusive access to it, and they would again buy the materials from us. So kind of recovered from that major pitfall.
You go through a little roller coasters. You go through these roller coasters, but the positive is there's always a positive that comes back out of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to think, if you didn't have this attitude that you embellished to, at least to me, I don't think these positive things would continue happening for you. I don't. I think anyone that they would give up. But your track record is go through some crap, but it wasn't crap because I was able to learn this or that, and then I came back out of it, and you found the diamond in the rough. So it's very impressive. And you also kind of showed the true example of what the life is of an entrepreneur, because people a lot of times just think it's just so easy.
It's not a ladder that you're riding straight up.
It's a winding, curvy road a lot of times, and I wish it was just straight ahead, but it just doesn't go that way. But all right, so let me ask you this, because we only have so much time, and we can talk for another 2 hours, but we can't. Mm-hmm. If the question came up and it was, what does the future look like for Jennifer Pfuhl, personally and for professionally, both, let's say MAPTech and Champion, 5 years from now, what does that look like?
5 years from now, at MAPTech, we will have diversified our customer base. So we're moving away from the exclusivity single customer model. We definitely need more baskets for our eggs. So we're really concentrating on that level of business development right now, kind of starting from the ground up. But that's our focus. We're bringing on new talent, so we have a good, strong succession plan in place. So hope to see lots of cross-generational design happening at our company. And then personally, let's see, in 5 years, James will be playing basketball and running distance at a college of his choice. Philip will be, I guess, in a senior year, thriving at school.
Where did they go to school now?
Philip goes to Hilton Head Preparatory School, and James goes to Hilton Head Island High School. So one's in public, one's in private. They both like it where they are and thrive there for different reasons.
And your one that's in high school, he plays basketball at Hilton Head?
Mm-hmm. And runs cross country and track.
Well,
he's doing well. And me
we
personally,
play. My boys go to Lucy Beckham, and we play Hilton Head. You're in our region.
Okay.
We're going to dominate you. I just want you to know.
We'll see. We'll see about that.
And I'm going to tell my son, sweep the legs of James. Sweep his legs. All right. Okay, so
me, I'll be right. You know, I have a farm. I now have 3 horses out there, 3 donkeys, 3 chickens.
So you're like Yellowstone, basically, out there.
Yeah, just about. So I'll be spending more time there as my company really takes off and my employees self-manage well. So I'll be able to have even more free time to ride the horses.
And so, in conclusion, Jennifer, if you could provide the audience one piece of single advice on where their life is today and the experiences you've had in yours, if you could say, if I could go back in time, the one big thing that I would almost do over or pay way more attention to, or maybe it's a habit, I don't know what it is. I want you to answer that. What is it that you think is so important to someone like Chase to be successful?
I think just be open-minded. You know, to a certain extent, you got to go with the flow and take what life presents you. You cannot determine what's going to be happening with the economy or what's going to be happening outside of yourself. So you've just got to let it come and take what serves you and let the rest slide off. You got to take care of your health because that's really all you will always have. So I feel great now. I'm in better shape than I have been most of my adult life, very strong. So keep golfing, keep doing what you love.
Well, in what Jen just said is very simple, but it's, to me, so true, because some of these things that people say and do, they're too complicated. They're exaggerated. They're just too political answers. And at the end of the day, there isn't always some secret formula. So to your point, being open and just letting it go, I think is simple but very good advice.
And I think, don't be afraid to be wrong. You raise your hand, speak out. It might be wrong, but if you don't raise your hand and get your idea out there, it won't be heard.
Well said. Well said. Well, great show today. We enjoyed having Jennifer Pfuhl of MAPTech Packaging as well as Champion Systems. If you need to get something, you need a machine because you want to have something packaged, then you need to call Jennifer Pfuhl and utilize MAPTech packaging. And don't go to China or wherever they're getting packages somewhere else. Plus, I mean, you can tell Jen's all about the environment, making things green and great. So I'm sure her packaging is as green as you can possibly make something green. So take advantage of this company for those of you who need help or need to buy equipment like that. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please, again, check out our previous episodes on our various podcast channels and follow our show. If, again, you're a visual person, you can always watch the YouTube channel where you can watch this interview. You can see how beautiful Jennifer Pfuhl is, both inside and out. And I would love to connect with my listeners, so please follow us on Instagram. My handle is double DOUBLE _E _LLC. God, that's the worst, these underscores. Or you can go to the Shrimp Tank website, the Double E website, Eric Elkins at LinkedIn, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. If you or your company would like to have an enjoyable conversation about retirement, employee benefits, estate planning, protecting and growing assets, just to name a couple things, then reach out to our lead sponsor, Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. You can contact them at service@doublellc.com. That's SERVICE @DOUBLEELLC.com. Or you can just go straight to the Double E website. We would love to hear from you. Again, the website's doublellc.com. Lastly, if you think you know of someone that's an entrepreneur or leader making an impact in the world, we would love someone like a Jennifer Pfuhl that's just a great, presence. You have a very nice presence. Would be a great guest, then please contact our producer, Chase Cooper, at service@doublellc.com, or Kristen Kilman at kk@doublellc.com. I'm Eric Elkins, and I'll leave you with this. Focus on being a one percenter. Do you know what a one percenter is, Jen? Do you know what that is?
I mean, are you talking about wealth accumulation or just
No, what do you think a one percenter is?
1%, like someone who is living without limitations, seizing life to its fullest?
Well, that would be part of it. I can't deny that's a wrong answer. That's a correct answer. And just to add to what you just said, it's someone that does what 99% of people won't do. So be a one percenter. All right, guys, thank you for another great show. Tune in for the soon-to-be, we'll have Eric Bland, famous attorney that is involved in the Murdaugh murders, coming up this month in October, talking about the Murdaugh murders and where it is today. We'll see you soon.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, but in real life, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through their financial insurance portfolios. Double E provides clients an entertaining and unique experience. The Shrimp Tank Charleston Show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We dive into their journey and discover what drove them to become so successful. We will make sure we get out of them not only the wins, but also the losses that they have had on their journey. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, doublellc.com.